God. Okay.
Every time I'm like, hey, Dave, I don't know, you want to catch up our listeners on your multi-year journey to sobriety? He's like, there's nothing to say.
Yeah.
I'm like, bitch, what?
Same old, except not, though.
Over 100 days sober.
Oh, yeah. We're coming up on...
Talk about it, bro. Just give the viewers an update. I know you don't want to talk about it, but they want to hear it.
Well, the funny thing is that we were just saying before that my little stories of how I'm doing are not as interesting, which is good because they're much less eventful. From just the madness of haunting the city of Omaha, walking around and just stealing and sleeping in dumpsters and just... but, I mean, honestly, it's been... What I say to a lot of people, like, the major question is always, like, what's different this time? And for the most part, I really don't even fret about that anymore. Like, I think in this way, on a bigger level, that, and this may even sound corny, but it's always going to be different because I've never been this version of me before. Like, I've never, even if let's say I was, which I'm not, but let's say I was in the same relationship at the same place, working the same job, and all that type of stuff. It was just like, so what would be the difference? I believe I would still be different because I would not come into that reality with all the momentum of experience I had before me. You know, it's in the same way where you could watch the same movie, even just a year later, but all of a sudden it means something way differently to you. Even though it's the same movie, the same actors, same script, same all that stuff.
Ancient philosopher Heraclitus said we never step in the same river twice. He's kind of alluding to what you're saying. Is that everything is a constantly changing and evolving thing. Even if you're doing the exact same thing, you're doing it from a new perspective of a self that is constantly evolving and in motion.
Right. And what's so fascinating, I think about this a lot because I think it's just interesting on a general level is that there's a phrase where people use in recovery where it's like, I stopped because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? Which is just another way of saying, you know what, there wasn't any big rock bottom thing. There wasn't, like, the consequences I had were kind of the same ones I had before. Shitty. There was nothing really different happened, but I just kind of woke up one day and like, you know what, I'm ready to stop. Like, man, we're done with this shit. And again, there wasn't anything really different that, like, my life was kind of just in the same sort of misery it was before. But for some reason today, I was just like, you're not cured one day, but you just go like, all right, I'm ready to do the thing I have not been willing to do for however many years. And I think that's fascinating because it's like, it's also scary in some other aspects because you just don't know when that comes across people and you don't know what instills that in people. You don't, like, some people can maybe retroactively and narrate, like, you know, it was actually because these things were coming together. But of course, a lot of times that people that are honest about it, they're like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know. This was year 12 of me doing the same stuff. I didn't get fired from a job. I'd just been homeless for 8 years now, just ripping and running. And I didn't have even health problems or anything. Like, all those type of things. And what I was so scared of going into this realm of recovery, and hopefully the last stint of it, was that I was not that. I don't know why I was not sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was literally like, just chastising my brain. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? How are we not tired of this stuff?
Please be done, yeah.
Please be done. And the brain was like, I could go for another. Like, it was always just, I could go for another, which in the longer stint of sobriety where I ended up meeting you and this whole thing actually started, I did feel that. I always tell people the kind of the weird contrast of it where, like, I've detoxed from methadone and alcohol into psych ward, horrible, like, withdrawals in a random jail in South Dakota, just other places, the places my mind will go, the dark levels. But what instigated one of my longer stints of sobriety was I had a relapse. I had a couple months before that, and then I had a relapse for like 3 days, nothing particularly awful. And I just but I felt it. I felt ready in a way that I'm just like,
this just sucks. It's not worth it.
It's just, I'm just kind of done with this. Like, again, I still maybe will crave it or want to do it, but there was a resolve that wasn't there before. And what I was really worried about, and what I have been worried about for about the past 2 years, is that despite the times of being sober, that was not there. And I was like, why, dude? When are we going to when are we going to be done with this? I don't understand it. Like, it felt like a real regression back into my mind of how I'm approaching this. And then, so, starting this last round, you know, it's kind of one of those things that was just like, all right, you can either go to the shelter there, you can go to the treatment center in the shelter, you know, your choice. And I was like, okay. I'm not gonna lie, I like, didn't want to do it. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to continue to do it, but I didn't want to do it. And so it was really tough where I talked to one of the people there, and they're like, all right, David, maybe what you can do is you need to learn to be tired somehow, and whatever that means to you. And I just, lo and behold, I kind of just kept going. They'll say things like, bake till you make it, or act as if. And it's one of those things where it's just like, can you really do that? And some people say you can, like on smaller levels. And some people say you can't. Maybe you just better your life to where you go, okay, I will take this over the thing. But I can't stress this enough, that weird sort of readiness. Because you never want to say, like, they just weren't ready. It's like, well, maybe the next time they go out, they die. Like, you don't want to say that. But I swear it is very true. People all the time will just be like, I just wasn't ready. I don't know why. And so this time was scarier because I was in that feeling. I didn't feel it. I wasn't ready to do this. There's some people you can even see when they come to treatment. You can just tell they are, regardless of how long. You don't even know their backstory yet, but the way they act, the way they are talking about it, you're like, okay, they're really done with this shit. Who knows if they'll actually stay sober, but they have that at least going for them. I didn't. But just slowly but surely, it's taken a little bit longer to clear out the fog. And one thing that is different, I will say, is that this new aspect of the drug, like another addiction, it was just like, all right, maybe I'll be addicted to this, but I stopped drinking.
The Mucinex stuff?
Yeah, I've stopped drinking, and so I'll get off of this, which I haven't been doing for as long. It's like, no, idiot, you just have 2 addictions now. And so that is actually the more scarier thing in my mind, because with drinking, it's just like, it's jumping off a cliff at night. We're falling, don't know how far, don't know how bad it'll be, but it's pure madness, usually right away. With the Mucinex, it's like, the scary thing is like, I probably could get away with it for a little bit. But one major thing, and one thing I ask myself kind of every time I have those squirrely ideas, I really try to put it to myself of like, to what end? What is the plan here? Because I will say another thing that has kind of came over me that more so than ever before is that with the age that people are around me, that, and the lives that people are living, like, this is kind of like a gut check moment. It's like, you know what, David, honestly, this is your life. Like, this is, you don't want to disappoint people, and you don't want to just be remembered as some sort of tragedy or failure of a human, like what you could have been. You don't want to die with potential. But in another respect, it's just like, this is your life, though. Like, in a weird way, if you pass or whatever, like, life will go on. It'd be very sad for a lot of people, but it will go on, and it always does. So, I mean, do you want to do this? Like, really, do you actually want to participate in this stuff? Because one thing at least we can agree on, there is no functional life whatsoever drinking or using. That is not, you have the Venn diagram of a life that I can even function in, and you have drugs and alcohol. You just, like, 2 balls you're trying to squish together. There's no sliver that you can live in the middle. That's done. Right. And so, and it's some scary moments. I was like, I don't really want to. Like, in the sense of like, no, I don't care. They're like, you need to care. But there's the thing. It was like, you need to care because of others. It was like, no, dude, not even that. Come on. Do you really want to do this shit? No more even for others, weirdly enough. Don't even think about that. Do you actually want to do this? Because at the end of the day, what's going to be proven is if you actually wanted to do it or not. Because for me, some people it may work, but for a lot of people it doesn't. It just, usually people will do it for others and then they want to do it for themselves. That's useful in a way. But if you don't actually want it for yourself, it doesn't matter what's on the line. It really doesn't. Because only you spend 24 hours, every second with yourself the whole day. Not even your kids, not any of that. So do you actually want to do this? And so I wasn't at that stage, but I've been getting more and more to it, to where it's just like, you know what? We're not doing this again, man, because it will never end until it does. But there is, at this point now, there's no reason, you're in good footing, especially right where I'm at right now. You're in good footing. So if you ever have some crazy craving or the obsession lasts for like a week or something, the truth is that maybe you could go back out and just things will get fucked up and you'll come back, which is actually scary. It'd be much better if I knew I would absolutely die if I did it again. But it's like, and then we're just going to do that again? Because it's weird in my mind. I'm like, if you do that now, then I think you're almost just accepting you're going to do that again and again. And I know that doesn't actually is reality. I know it maybe doesn't even make sense, but it's in the sense of like, it's always been this way where you just feel that later we'll take care of this later. It's like, well, not only have we been running out of more time and opportunities and things like that, but at a certain point, it's just like, do you want a later? And that was like one of the big things I asked myself, and I tried. It's like, I kept saying, we'll take care of this later, which is a delusion.
Yeah.
But the real question was, David, do you actually want a later? Like, would you prefer to just resign yourself to this life of just barely scraping by and having some chemical relief from time to time, and basically with the Mucinex and drinking, giving yourself a chemical lobotomy, like, and then just fizzling out? And the weird thing is that you're not supposed to say, like, I wouldn't mind doing that. Like, no, I want life. But I was at a point where I was like, that is on the table, weirdly. And it's just like, okay, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that's on the table. Don't deny yourself. Don't, like, let's play with full transparency here, self. But what do you want that later? Because, by the way, the later has to be now. There is no magical later where you're just going to be different and ready to do this like that. But do you want it? And I was like, all right, we'll work. We'll see. And so...
Actually opening yourself up to it, kind of. Like, that's a real... I could just do that. No delusion. I could just totally let go and fucking take that path, and at least I would have the relief of not having to try to be sober anymore, and just, like, fully opening you up to that possibility.
Yeah. And so it was acknowledging that. Not lying to myself that it's not an option. Because in those dark moments or those waves of just obsession, that truth just becomes more realized, because I've been pushing it away and denying it. So I'm unprepared for it. It's like, maybe we are ready to just say, fuck this for a moment, for a day.
Yeah.
But if I actually keep that in mind, that it's like, we're making a choice. But I guess, like, to sum all the shit up, this is right now. It's not that you have to. I mean, a lot of people in my life that love me would disagree, but it's not truly. It's not that you have to, David. You are making a choice. And what it feels like is like I'm choosing every day. And it sounds weird because, again, to everyone around me, like, no, it's not an option for you to fizzle out like that. But I don't know. I think it's more empowering. I think it's more honest. And I think it's better for me to be like, I'm making a choice to do this. And some days I may not want to make that choice, but I'm still making a choice. And it feels like I've started to have more agency over my life than I have in the past at least 2.5 years or so. And so I don't know. It's this way of, like, I'm choosing to be a part of life, and I'm choosing to try to reach the potential I have, and we're choosing to do this, and it is a choice. If you put it to my own head that I have to do this, like a lot of people weirdly, it's like, well, now that I have to, I don't want to. But in the sense, I'm like, you know what? Here's the things I want to pursue. Here's the goals I have. Here's the responsibilities I have. This is what your life is right now, and do you want this? And if you don't want it, like, let's say you're in a bad funk of depression, maybe over a couple days, or maybe, whatever have you. If you don't want it, we can just deal with that when it comes. Because a lot of stuff that I worried about was just how I'd be in future, like, worried about stuff coming along, worrying about post-acute withdrawal symptoms coming along. And a lot of it is just like, handle that when you get there. Not like completely unprepared or anything like that, but in this way, not worrying about it as much has not built it up to this big scary thing that when it does kind of come along, I'm like, oh no, it's starting or something. It's not as big as scary as I thought it was. And I truly, like, I've gotten over some humps like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And one thing that also absolutely does help too is that you have done this before. Some people could look at it, you've done it before and then you failed. But for me, it's just like, you have done this before. There was a point in your life you got to a mindset where you actually absolutely preferred not to be under the influence. Like, I always say, if you had the magical day, a mulligan day, a day that existed out of time, there'd be no repercussions, there'd be no problems, there'd be no anything. Your brain would get erased. Just all that type of stuff would you drink or use. And it didn't matter if I was 6 months, 7 months, 12 months sober. I'd be like, yeah, I'd still drink and use on a mulligan day. And
wow.
I got to a point, though, where I wouldn't have.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, so I know that's possible. And, like, one thing that I
that's a really interesting way to think about it.
One thing that I talk about a lot is that the thing that gives me hope is not, for me at least, it's not the sense of faith that maybe some people have, or things are going to work out, or just that belief. A thing is also just like, man, you just don't know. And that's a good thing. Like, you don't know how your mind will change, because it changed in ways that you didn't think was possible. You don't, like, that's why it could be so hard for people, especially their first time in recovery. They're like, dude, I'm never going to not want to do this. And it's totally understandable, because so far up to their life, ever since they started using, they have never had that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to imagine and believe that you can have a mind that you've never had before.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, we actually get some emails, you know, about people that talk about heartbreak and stuff, and people are just like, this is the love of my life, and like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll never find another one like this. And some people, not us, but you know, you can imagine people rolling their eyes and being like, oh, you're young, it'll happen again. But I always think about it as like, it only makes sense that they feel that way because they have never loved anyone in their life. This is the only person who has brought out that feeling. And so in your mind, losing it, you don't have anything else to compare it to. So of course it feels like your world's ending. And so that's actually a thing that gives me hope, where I just go, dude, you don't know the ways that you'll be. There's been so many times where you're just like, it's always going to be like this. I can change in these aspects, but this is always going to be that way. And that does. And quicker than you think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I hold on to that during the days where I maybe don't want to make that choice. I go, okay, if you don't want to make that because of X, Y, and Z, because you feel this is all fruitless, or because you don't feel you have the energy and it feels like it's zapped out of you, it will come back. Mm-hmm. You don't think so, but it will come back. You know, you could transpose this all to everything is temporary ideal. It's like, it does, you know, it is a part in that, but it's also just the sense of just like, man, you think you just know the way things will be. Not even just that everything's temporary, but you think the things in the future, you think you know how they'll be, and you really don't. Like, there's this funny thing where one thing in life that I did not expect at all is not only the moments that would resonate with me and how I'd respond to them, those big moments in life. Another thing that I was never prepared for is the big moments in your life. Which ones will resonate with you and which ones won't?
Yeah.
Like, there's a ton of stuff that I remember. Like, it's fucking stamped in my mind like a name on a dog tag. And it's the most pointless interaction ever. And then I think, does it mean something? Because it's so in there.
Definitely.
And then there's times where I know I should have felt more, like, almost a time where, like, this is a big moment I'll remember forever. And I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't, not saying anything in case people that are listening, no one that are involved in this will know this. But the same thing has happened with relationships, too. Where that sense of, you know, maybe I didn't believe I'll never love again, but I was like, this will always be a part of me. I remember 8 years. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. And it's not that, not caring about the person, but it's just like,
Moved
okay,
on.
no, and so did they.
Yeah.
Like 6 months later, if even that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, yeah, it's funny. You know, there was a friend that passed that I used to work with at a job I didn't care about, that I was drunk half the time at.
That's not funny, by the way.
No, it's, I know, I say that a lot. But it's weird to me that there was other deaths of people closer to me, but his still resonates with me more. I was more shaken up by his and still am. And I don't know why. And so it's just...
What would you do if I told you that I invited him here
Don't
today?
do this. God damn it.
Come on in, bud.
Dude! But anyway, back to my point is that you don't predict what things will be important to you or what things will become important to you, what things will... You know, I have often fret so much about, like, what if I have to get a quote-unquote normal job that is going to be my existence, and a lot of this stuff is going to come to the side. And I know we've talked about this before, but all this creative pursuits are going to shrink more and more as my life, you know, goes on, maybe, and I won't make it the way it's... But, you know what, David, here's one other thing. You don't think it is, but there's a chance that you'll grow into a person who that's not a big deal to anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're all right with that. You've accepted it. I know, because all of your life you felt like you can't accept that. Like, I know, like, I'm up to this. I'm 36 goddamn years old and I still have felt this way. Mm-hmm. Dude, there's still absolutely a possibility that you could get to a point where you're like, yeah, it's not that big. I don't mind the life I have now.
Totally.
You just don't know. Maybe not, but you don't know.
We fall prey to that implicit delusion all the time of thinking we know the future, and we don't talk about it in our own heads as if I know for sure that's going to happen. We always have like an explicitly acknowledged uncertainty. Things could, you know, do this or that, but implicitly we kind of do have a vision of how things are going to be in the future that is so implicit we don't question it. It's not even a conscious thing that we're debating.
Right.
It's just a like sort of a muscle memory reaction to things, and we just create these images in our head of what the future is going to be and kind of like believe them without even knowing that we're thinking that. And that's crazy. But the you know, we've talked about it before of like overcoming addiction and something just clicking. But you know, with marijuana, for me, it was kind of what you were saying to some extent. I knew that I was over it, when I didn't want to. You talked about having a mulligan day with no consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Previous iterations where I've tried to quit and I wasn't successful, I was still wishing I could, kind of. I was like, fuck, dude, I wish I could just fucking smoke without any of the downsides, without any of the lung health thing, without having to worry about like driving with it on me in a state where it's illegal, or in the past, even with jobs, like having to worry about drug tests and shit. Like, I just wish I wish I could have the thing without the consequences.
Of course.
But that's the one thing. And I knew that I was past my marijuana addiction when I didn't even want it. When even if I could have it without any of those consequences, I don't want it. I don't crave it. I don't wish I had it. And in fact, like right now, if you came in and said, "Hey, smoke this blunt," to me that would be
funny
like,
you say that because Breht, here comes in through the door, weed, my friend in weed.
All right, I'll smoke. I would be, I would be like, it doesn't do anything for me, and yeah, so like that shift of like, I just genuinely don't want it. Like if I had an actually radically consequence-free choice in this moment, I would still choose no.
Yeah,
and that was the first time I'm like, oh, this shit is behind me, And maybe you're on that, maybe that's where you are right now.
I mean, no, I'd still, if I had the mulligan day, I'd still do it.
God damn it, really?
No, seriously, but...
Do what, the Mucinex or the drinking?
Both, if I could, if it's a mulligan day.
Mucinex doesn't sound fun. I get the drinking, but...
Don't worry about it. I'm not promoting it. Don't, actually. Like, it fucking sucks, dude, because now when I have, like, a nasty cold, I can't take it. Like, it's like, all the stupid shit that I've, like, ruined for myself now. It's like, man, I can't just have a beer at 4th of July. I can't fucking even take... full-strength Mucinex, dude. This fucking sucks.
I can't have a little flight on Epstein's plane.
Oh my god, I know, right? God, cancel culture. But but yeah, that, and sometimes it will come roaring back. Like sometimes you'll be like, oh, I'll be back in that phase where I want weed, or the harrowing weed addiction.
Legalize it.